What's up, everyone? I'm Don Harkins. This is the Don Harkins Real Estate Show. Today, we're talking about the big rumor that you're seeing across not only some major news networks now, but also across Twitter and in some industry newsletters about the Trump administration's big plan to ease housing. He's expected to unveil more details about his plan in Davos next week. But one of the key proposals that it looks like is going to be announced is that Americans will be able to access their 401ks for a down payment on a home. The assumption currently is that that's a second home, a refinance for a home, purchasing an investment property. However, when the details get announced, it will be interesting to see if it stays widespread and any Americans can penalty free access their 401ks for any property purchase, or if it's going to be specifically for first time home buyers. We're more likely to see something that has broad sweeping accessibility rather than such a narrow segment as first time buyers. But what I wanted to show you is just how much of an impact this could have if and when it gets formally announced next week. So, what we're going to look at is how much money is in 401ks and the money that is in the 401ks, who's got it, and where are they living. Before we can really judge what the impact is going to be, we have to figure out, are buyers really interested at all in accessing extra down payment funds? How much have they been putting down and where's the money been coming from? And do people even still want to buy houses? So we can look back at the National Association of Realtors profile of buyers and sellers for very good data on the home purchase and on the home buyer from the last year. And what we can see is 92% of buyers who financed their home purchase were first time home buyers. And repeat buyers, 70% of them finance their home purchase. So you still overall have a lot of people financing their home purchase. Only 26% of purchases are cash right now. So this is an announcement that can impact essentially 74% of all home buyers, but 92% of first-time buyers. And first-time buyers are so important because they're a massive buyer pool that is currently sitting on the sidelines. You can see from this data that just came out from last year's home purchasers, the median age of a first-time home buyer was 40 years old, up from 29 years old back in 1981 when they started keeping this data. So you have a tremendous delay in the purchase that's occurring. And the median age of all buyers was 59 last year. So Gen Z, millennials, largely on the sidelines in the home market. And for several years, you can see really since 2018, 2017, the number's been climbing pretty rapidly. If you look at the sources of down payment, and we want to look at this because we want to know, well, if you make 401ks available, would people even use it? The number one source of down payments in 2025 for buyers was savings accounts. The next source was a gift from a relative or a friend. And that brings up another important consideration. This proposal, will a parent or a friend be able to access their 401k to give a gift for a down payment of a home by another person? Parents giving gifts, co-signing, helping children buy homes right now is extremely common. So it'll be interesting to see if parents will be able to access that money for their kids. And then you see here, first-time homebuyers, 11% of first-time homebuyers already are accessing their 401ks. How are they doing this? They're either sucking it up and paying a penalty, or they're taking out a 401k loan where it's not an interest-free loan, but you can take out a loan against your 401k, pay the interest and the loan back to yourself. There are limits in amount of money, and rates of interest can vary, but there is some ability to access this now, but it's very, very, very limited. So we do see savings and 401ks up there, making up about 70% right now of where buyers are already accessing money. So it's safe to say, I think, that they'd continue to take advantage of this and would utilize it. The thing about savings is you can see here the most recent Federal Reserve Consumer Economic Survey was in 2022. And in 2022, which by the way, we know savings rates were higher in 2022 than they are today, you had the median savings account balance at $8,000. That was actually a transactional account, so checking account and savings accounts. $8,000 is what the median balance is in one of these accounts. So pretty low when we look at at least in my market, the average home price being about $450,000. This isn't even representing 3.5% that would be required for an FHA loan. But then when you look at the 401k account information from that same survey, it indicated the second most commonly held type of financial asset was a retirement account, which included individual retirement accounts and 401ks. And 54.3% of families held an account of this type in 2022. And you can see here the median balance in those accounts is much higher at $86,900. So we know that buyers are accessing these types of accounts for down payments on homes, and we can see that there's actually quite a bit of money in these accounts relative to the savings accounts they've been accessing primarily. Then when we look at, well, what's keeping these buyers out of the market? What's keeping them on the sidelines? We know rates have been a challenge, but rates are down definitively over the last 13 months. And still we haven't seen buyers return to the market like what a lot of people expected. And we have in the report that 31% of first-time buyers said saving for down payment was the most difficult task in the buying process. So if we're unlocking a bunch of money in 401k accounts, penalty-free, interest-free, you're theoretically alleviating that most difficult task of the process for a good portion of first-time buyers. You can see other things that were issues, high rents and current mortgage payment. So we've got to solve for the mortgage payment. If you're unlocking more money for down payment, you can use that to bring the mortgage payment down. Reasons that the buyer's mortgage application had been rejected. So this is showing you that a lot of people wanted to purchase a home. Some of those Gen Z, some of those millennials, some of those people under the age of 40 who wanted to be first-time home buyers, and they just simply couldn't be because their mortgage was rejected. Why was their application denied? The number one reason you can see here was debt to income ratio. Well, when you unlock 401ks, you have a big toolbox to use to reduce the debt to income ratio. You can pay off certain debts. You can buy the rate down with that money, or you can put additional money down on the house. All three of those things are going to impact and influence and bring down the debt to income ratio, solving this problem for 45% of home buyers that had their mortgage application denied. When we look at, how much it would matter, we're trying to figure out, well, are people on the sidelines because they just don't want to buy houses, or are they on the sidelines because they can't buy houses? And you can see here, this is existing home sales, the number of homes that have sold. This data, they started keeping it in 1980. So this is going back to 1980. And you can see just how low here. I mean, we had fewer homes sold in the last couple years than we had during the great financial crisis even. I mean, more people were willing to go out and buy houses when there was massive mortgage fraud and people losing their homes left and right than were even the last 2 years. And in fact, you have to go back all the way to 1995 to find a year where the home sales were as low as they were this year. And remarkably, when you go back to 1995, 1996, you can see 4.17 million homes sold in 1996 when the interest rate was 8.32%. But fast forward to today when the interest rate is 6.25%, the same number of homes sold. So that just goes to show you how slow the market is and how many people are on the sidelines. We know we've had tremendous population growth. We know we've had tremendous rent growth. We know that we've had all-time low home sales the last 2 years and now rates falling. And it all points to tremendous pent up demand. So, what we want to figure out is obviously in Central Florida and the Space Coast where I live, we're looking at Volusia County, Seminole County, Lake, Brevard, Orange, Osceola, and we're trying to figure out exactly where this 401k money is going to be deployed and what neighborhoods and what areas are likely to be impacted the most. And we're having to do some estimating here using national averages, info from the Census Bureau, the Federal Reserve study, the BLS jobs report. So we're having to do some estimation, but we think we have pretty firm numbers on this. For 401k assets, we're using aggregate personal income, which includes investment retirement income from USBEA 2023, multiplied by population estimates. For the number of 401k accounts, we're using that BLS data and assuming 50% national participation rate, which is the best estimated participation rate. And for the average balance, we're using the national average adjusted by the per county per capita income. So I show you that because you have here the Redfin methodology for their famous report on how many sellers were in the market. They came out in June and July. Lindsay Katz, the famous climate blogger from Bloomberg, climate and race blogger who wanted to get into the housing business, got hired by Redfin to write clickbait and spam articles. And so they started creating these inflammatory headlines like there's 500,000 more sellers than buyers in the market. And this is just a clip from their intuition. And they said the matching model is based on a simple intuition about the housing market, that the amount of time it takes each side to find a match depends on how tight the market is. And they go on, it's not even worth reading because it's such made up, garbled nonsense. But you can see they support their research with a coffee shop analogy, which is just a way to say that they make up their statistics, they make up their research reports to get people to click on their website and get trapped into working with a horrible Redfin agent. But we're using actual statistics, we're using actual surveys, and we're making good, implied, predictable estimates based on those results. And here's what we've got. We've got the population in Orange County at 1.5 million, the per capita income at 59,000, total personal income at 91.7 billion. Brevard County coming in second at about 40% of that at 39.6 billion. Volusia County following at 33.6, Seminole, Lake, and coming in with Osceola. So theoretically, we're seeing this as being the total personal income. We would expect those would be where the biggest 401k balances were. Orange County, estimated average balance of $79,000, a sizable balance. If we're talking about a $450 average purchase price, this is nearly a 20% down payment sitting here. Pretty similar at Brevard County, 80,200 average estimated balance. Seminole County, 83,700. Volusia, 74,400. Osceola at the bottom with 63,700. So a large number of accounts, and you see the number of accounts, 470,000 estimated accounts in Orange County, 119,000 estimated 401k accounts in Brevard, 105,000 in Seminole. So we're talking about a tremendous amount of retirement savings, a tremendous amount of Americans' wealth being tied up in 401k accounts, specifically here in the Central Florida and Space Coast area. And again, want to go back and just be very specific about where this data is coming from, because these are actual reports that are recent and current that we're getting this information from. So when it comes to tapping 401ks, what we're essentially trying to figure out is, are we likely to see an impact in real housing? Are we likely to see higher rates of home ownership? Are we likely to see buyers returning to the market? Are we likely to see things like days on market going down and average sale prices going up? and sale price to list price ratios rising? And if so, where are they likely to happen? And the short answer is yeah, Orange County is likely to see a meaningful increase in home sale activity. We're likely to see the average age of a first time home buyer start to drop and first time home buyers entering the market utilizing these funds. Builders will be very well positioned to take advantage of this because they have the inventory sitting there available today. And other home sellers who have to scramble, get their home on the market to meet this demand and take advantage of the rising prices and the increased affordability lower rates have brought will take a little bit more time. So if you're thinking, wow, this house, I've been in it for a long time and the market's just kind of been slow and I haven't really been that excited about selling, ahead of this announcement might be a good time to start thinking about what it looks like to get that home on the market and be ready in the event you do see buyers start to return like we think they probably will once they're able to access these accounts without penalties or without having to pay interest and loans back to themselves. If you have any questions at all about Central Florida or the Space Coast, their real estate market, I'm Don Harkins. We have a property management company, Sea Dog Property Management. We'd love to help you manage your investment property and get high quality tenants in, keep vacancy low, and efficiently manage your maintenance and repairs to save you money. If you're interested in purchasing a home, we have a mortgage company, the Don Harkins Mortgage Team, and we'd love to help you get pre-approved and show you different mortgage options to help you get into a home as affordably as possible with the best rate and lowest fees possible. And if you're thinking about buying or selling a house, we do have a real estate company, Don Harkins Realty. We have offices on the Space Coast and in Central Florida, and we got a great group of agents to be happy to help you buy or sell a home. So please reach out at donharkinsrealty.com. Send me an email at don@donharkinsrealty.com or give us a call at 321-377-0341. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to this video. We're going to be following the details of the announcement as they come out. We're going to be talking about what stocks and what sectors might best be positioned to grow rapidly as a result of this change and what other areas might be harmed from investments leaving as a result of that. So if you're interested at all in how this is going to play out and what the effect it has on the market, please follow along. Thanks for watching and have a great night.